interview series on the Nico Penguin YouTube and Twitch channel for productive gamers by a gamer with your co-host, or actually your only host so far. I said that because, guys, I have a few other podcasts. But anyways, with Nico Penguin, and today we have a guest, Bandit Radio Hour. Thank you so much for calling in.
Dude, thank you for having me on. This is great. We get to talk about video games and shoot the breeze, and that's among my favorite wheelhouse of subjects.
All righty, perfect. And so sorry, I had a little technical difficulty, but you know, we are joined by somebody that I was just looking at the list of guests and I said, I need to interview this guy right here. He has a lot of interesting information that I need to have a conversation. And I really applaud you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and collaborate.
Thank you, sir. We've been working on the ranch, but it is nice whenever I get off and get everything done. The video games is what I look forward to at the end of the day. That's my meditation. That's my whatever. So, getting to be able to talk about it with a fun person is a nice change. Instead of just
All right.
hillbillies out here in the sticks.
Perfect. So you led it to the right area where it's my area of fun. So since we just started talking about gaming, because this is a gaming channel, what is your favorite gaming system?
Ooh, oh man, you just made 1,000 little memories fly through my head.
Yeah, pick one.
My favorite. All
One
right, so my favorite one
all
right
time.
now is PlayStation, like currently. But if I'm judging like based on the system I had the
Mm-hmm.
most fun on,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
oh man, it's gonna like break my little Sony heart. But probably the original Xbox. When the original Xbox
Ooh.
came out, I remember we had Call of Duty, like the original, like I think it was World at War Call of Duty for
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and maybe like the first Modern Warfare. Not only that, you just had a ton of fun single player games too. Halo, uh, probably but then later on, I remember it scared me when Microsoft started talking about, I think it was not this console, but the last one. You have to have internet for it, and like all
Yeah.
country people were like, "Oh God, ours goes out all the time." Nah, jump to somewhere else. We need single player games in case the lights go out. But
Oh
yeah,
man.
probably original Xbox. How about yourself?
Oh, me, if I had to judge the favorite one of all time, I would probably have to say the PC because I love the computer. But in terms of absolutely stomping people in person in a party kind of sense, I would probably have to say the Wii U, more specifically games like Mario Kart or Mario Party, where you have three, four, up to eight people at once, and there's only like one or two people that could actually beat me at those kind of games. And so I just love playing that. You're in a group full of like five or six different individuals, and you know, unless people are as good as you playing there, you're not gonna lose too much. I always liked Call of Duty when it was the PvE, when you were playing either against zombies or Call of Duty Ghost. But the moment I turned on to the multiplayer, man, I just keep getting wrecked. It is I don't know. I don't know how people be playing with like instant reflexes. Like you can just like no scope shoot somebody like half a mile away, and it's just like what?
And now that they got crossplay, because really the thing that keeps me with Call of Duty is I actually still me and my brothers. That's like our getting together. We live at separate places. We all get
Yeah,
online and
yeah,
play with each other, and the, you can tell when you PC gods are playing with crossplay because it's just like you're doing things I can't do on a controller. Now I'm
yeah,
upset. I want to
yeah.
go by myself. But no, you unlocked a big memory. You're talking about like couch co-op and party games and stuff
Yes.
right next to you.
Yes.
Nintendo 64 by far. That
Oh,
you're talking about Mario Kart. You're talking
yeah,
about Rampage,
yeah,
where your monster's stomping around the city. As a matter of fact, my producer and my good buddy, that's one of the systems we grew up playing. And, like everyone does, but it was once it was old, we got rid of it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it was like 5 years ago. He goes, dude, I found one in like mint condition. Got like these four games for it. I think, what was it? Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers, and like an idiot, I lost it at a hunting camp, and I've regretted it ever since. It broke my heart.
No, man, those always have amazing memories. You never can get them back, but you can always remember, either losing a lot, winning a lot, or just having so much fun where you just never want to wake up, go to sleep. You're just so glued. You don't even want to go to the bathroom or eat any of that. At least in my case, that was always the thing. I never wanted to eat. I never wanted to go to sleep. I just was so glued to the competition, and it would always break my heart whenever it was time to like call it quits and everybody go. But in regards to your favorite game of all time, because you mentioned a lot of different consoles, a lot of different games, a lot of different uh, co-op, first-person shooter, adventure. Out of all of those, which one in your mind and heart and soul stands at the absolute peak?
Well, I'm a sucker for a good story. Like I don't care.
Ooh.
It's one of the main reasons I don't read a lot of books because if it's a bad story, I feel like I've really wasted my time. But like with
Yeah,
a
yeah.
video game or a movie or anything, I love something that really like grips me. And this might
Mm.
sound really basic, but like one of I just might have been at the right age at the right time
Yeah, yeah.
for this kind of twist to be inserted. But it was Call of Duty Black Ops. And
Ooh.
that, I don't know if you remember, but you're like a CIA agent who's
Yeah,
also
yeah.
been experimented on by the Russians, and you got this Russian ally the whole time. Turns out he's just a figment of your imagination. And
Yeah.
I remember I got done playing that game, and I was like legitimately upset. Uh, and that's how good the story was. Like I wasn't upset that it was a bad game. I was like, that guy was in my head the whole time. He's not really my friend. I this disrespects me. I thought Yuri Orlov was real, and he was my friend.
No, that's a really solid choice. Out of all the Call of Duties, I loved Ghost the most. Specifically, the extraction mode with when you finish the game, you're able to play versus the aliens. And the entire time I'm playing the game, the only reason I bought the game was for that mode. And then when I try to play it, they're like, no, you have to beat the entire story mode first, and
Right.
then you're able to play that mode. And I'm like, what? And so the entire time I'm just like putting it on super easy mode, running through everything, finishing. And then the moment I'm done, I think that it's like, oh, what's going to happen. And it's like, boom, they get sent to like Mars or something. I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
This is an amazing way to go from end of the game to a completely new game mode. So I completely agree. I remember playing Black Ops, and that was so fun. I never finished it though. I only remember playing like 2 or 3 missions, because I think the first mission, like, you were under like a tanker or something like that. You were under like a big cruise tanker kind of thing, and like you're getting flooded, and you have to like
Yes.
exit, and you have to do certain moves. And I was like, this is the first time that I'm getting tested my reflexes in the story. Like if you don't press the square or X button or circle button in the correct manner, depending on the difficulty, like you drown or you get shot and killed. And I'm just like, yo, I might not be able to finish this game.
And man, it seems like to games back then, like I said, maybe it's nostalgia. Maybe I was younger and like, I don't know, I hadn't seen the same story kind of copy and pasted and slightly changed so
Mhm.
much. But it's so hard to find like good stories that have twists like that. Or even like you said, like I was a diehard Zombies fan. Like that's something
Oh
me and my
yeah,
friends crushed. And when
yeah.
Extraction came out, I think I was a little too close minded to it. So I was like,
Hmm.
no, no, no. I really like my zombies, and this is close. But now that I've played other modes like it, looking back at that, and what was the other one? It wasn't Extraction, it wasn't Zombies, but it was like maybe it was the Modern Warfare ones, where it's like they just send enemy AI at you, like
Yeah, yeah,
soldiers, and
yeah.
you just got to survive. And
Hmm.
eventually it starts out with just dudes with pistols, and by the end of it, it's
Yes.
guys wearing so much armor they look like
Yeah,
Soviet warriors.
yeah, yeah.
And me and my brothers, I'm pretty sure we hit each other physically over that game. Like how could you die? That's not right. We got to be a team. A lot of that going on. So
Did you
it's a good mix of all those. Everything you just said was a great contender.
did you guys ever compete over like who got the most headshots, who was able to live the longest solo, or who was able to carry the game?
I don't know if we ever got into so descriptive that it was like headshots or anything, but it was just, well, of course, I have two older brothers, and
Hmm.
my little niche skills seem to be video games compared to them. So where they're beating me at all this other stuff, I was like, I can hit ABXY real quick, faster than talking, and that upset them. But now I don't know if it's because I'm getting older because we play Call of Duty together, and my one
Hmm.
brother, who I always thought was the worst at it, is now stomping my ass at Warzone. and I don't know how to feel about that because I was like, this was my thing. But no, it's that they. The main thing we kept track of was pretty much who got the most kills, and
Hmm.
it made it a fun time.
And then fast forward to now, how do you feel that playing video games after a long day of work helps you to unwind, relax, and meditate?
I'd say one of my favorite things about it, it just kicks my brain into neutral. That's the
Mm.
my brain all day is having to grind gears mentally to
Mhm.
figure out what I need to get everything done with, move stuff a certain way, and physically. And I think everybody has their own version of it. Like I got a lot of family. First thing they get home, my dad lights up a cigar and like relaxes and reads a book for a little bit. My mom, God bless her, watches Fox News. But everyone has their thing to unwind with.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know, with the video game, it gives you these challenges that stimulate your brain, like these
Hmm.
little getting a kill streak, going on, completing a story and seeing the end of it. But man, you can just really relax and absorb it without exerting yourself, like
Right.
in a really different way. So I think it just feeds that nice factor of work and reward, but just in a
Mhm.
more fun, in a way that can be bad for some people.
Right,
I mean,
right,
some
right.
people get really sucked in, and I'd be raising my hand saying guilty if I've done that a little too much at times. But that is nice that we live in this day and age that you can sit on your couch and be rewarded for that.
No, it's a very good hit of dopamine, especially when it's not too much and it's right after doing a lot of work because it's almost like you've earned that opportunity. You've earned that time either to yourself or to hang out with your friends if you're doing multi or by yourself if it's a single player. It's like you've earned that right, even if it's 30 minutes of a game, if it's you're binging a couple hours of the game. It's like you've earned that opportunity that maybe when you were younger you felt like you just were given that opportunity, and now it's like you don't have as much time and now you can take it, and it's just like, man, I can relax after doing all this tough work, and instead of having to calculate numbers and use my body and do this and do that, I could just be here, and even if I lose, I'm good. If I win, I'm good. But doing this activity puts me at ease.
That's a great way to put it because I remember now. Now I got kids. They're 8, boy and a girl, both 8. And the one thing, like I remember before I had kids, it's call it Protestant guilt maybe, but it seemed like even if I worked all day, if it felt like if I got time to myself to
Mhm.
like just enjoy myself, there probably wasn't all a bad thing, but there was something in the back of my head going like, "Hey, should you like be using this time to do something more?" Always like nagged at me.
Right.
Now that I get done with work, my daughter lives with me full time, and I take care of her. And the minute she gets in bed and I have nothing else to do, that thing's gone. 'Cause I'm like, I've earned this. I did work. I
Yeah,
drove
yeah.
all from sun up to sundown. I did it. This is my total reward. And yes, there's something. You know, I, I really think being a lot of people that are really into gaming,
Mhm.
it's a diverse group of people, but I think there is a certain mindset of almost, I wouldn't call it neuroticness, but almost like a
Mm.
curiosity intrigue, like a hyper focus into, there are good, smart people and have fun people I've hung out with that just go,
Mhm.
video games aren't for me. That's just not I can't get into them.
Right.
But, you know, I've always said, thank God I'm born here now and I got this entertainment and stuff we do. Because 1800s, I'm just the guy that reads a lot of books and doesn't care about half of them. Like in my
Right.
free time under a candlelight, that sucks. Thank God I could jump on play Call of Duty or even games I don't play. I
Hmm.
never thought I'd be this guy. I can watch someone like you on YouTube and enjoy the story that's getting out of it. It's like I didn't even have to pay $1 for that stream of entertainment.
Right, right. Now, do you feel like if you either play or watch video games that there are certain things that you can extract and use them in the real world?
Oh yes. Uh, I mean, not only like we said that feedback loop of dopamine and good feelings just to kind of kickstart something, but I really think video games and gamers had like an unforeseen, what I think is a positive consequence on society. Because I mean, us, a lot of gamers I see, we like to, what's the word for it? Not like cheat or something like that, but like find the limits of the program we're using. We all like
I'm
to see like,
cheating. I'm cheating.
like I think about every game like, hey, I can kill all these guys this way, but what if I run around and do this? What if I test all
Exactly.
the limits? And I
Yeah.
think that does something with your brain that has you look at things and go, all right, what's the limits? Let's say something dumb like building a fence that I know about. All right, how can I build this fence? To what length? To what different ways can I test these little theories on this to make it work? And you know, it seems like nowadays there are more and more people questioning more and more things. Like not even,
Yes.
and I almost feel I'm not saying it's a direct result of video
Mhm.
games. I think that dopamine reception system of figuring stuff out really has kind of filtered into other areas, and I'm a fan of it.
I mean, it's exactly how you mentioned in regards to, cheating the system or figuring out the most effective ways of doing things. Like, for example, one of the things that I used to hate when I would play Call of Duty Nuketown is the fact that the map was so small. Everybody that played it on a consistent basis would already know where the peak holes were. They would already know where the spawn points were. So they would know immediately, okay, if I step here, that means an enemy is going to spawn right there. And then after 3 seconds, then they're going to be able to be shot. And I always felt like whenever I would play it, like I don't play enough to know that when I'm spawning, if I'm not peeking here, peeking there, I'm going to get sniped or taken out by somebody that's just waiting on that. But when you play it enough and enough and enough, then you can use that and say, okay, I have 3 seconds of invincibility. So that means that if somebody times it incorrectly, they're giving them their self away, and then I know where they're at and I can take them out.
And it is this wonderful. By the way, especially Nuketown. Like I have so many memories, and I'm not a sniper. I'd love to be a sniper in
Oh,
video
me
games.
too. I wish.
Lord didn't bless me with that. No, no, I'm running better. I'm spraying frame.
Yes, yes. That's
And
right.
in Nuketown, it's like when you
MP5,
in a
baby.
corner and just headshot, and you're in the ground. And it's like he knew before I was even at the corner that he was lined up perfect. That would drive me insane. But
No, yeah, that and that used to infuriate me, and then it's as you mentioned, when you start doing that enough and enough, and then it's like when you get into the real world and you realize that a lot of the issues and problems you're faced with, if you face them enough times, there's only so many times that you're gonna get knocked down, and then realize like, how do I stop getting knocked down? How
yes,
am I going to prevent this from, knocking me down? And so I wanted to see if you had a specific example of whenever you played a game and you felt like this enabled you to, do it a little bit better, whether it's your eye hand coordination, whether it be how you mentioned, like, figuring out, calculating if a fence is going to be able to be put up, whether in a timely manner, whether with the right amount of resources, or any other examples in real life situations that you have?
hand-eye coordination. I feel like I got lucky and I was born with quite a bit of that because all the other coordination, absolutely not. Like actual running and hitting a baseball bat on the ball and all that. Now, like in my 30s, I finally have that ability really good. Up until then,
Mhm.
terrible. But no, something I'm really grateful for video games. You want to talk about applying to the real world? It's like, I mean, I grew up in a small town in Florida. You don't get a lot of exposure. You got exposure to different types of people when you went to
Mhm.
the city, or Tampa, or
Yeah,
Port
yeah.
Charlotte, or something. Video games was a window to let me see new perspectives. To see me
Mm.
like go like, all right, I don't understand where this guy's coming from. Let me finish this whole story. It maybe has a whole new spin. One of the big ones was God of War. I mean, one, you got to see boobs, and I was 12 years old, and that was like but the other one was like, I grew up typical Southern like Christian church. I'm like, whoa, what's this other dead religion that involves you cutting a minotaur's head off? Look, this makes me want to learn about it. And, that eventually led into high school, like me looking into Greek mythology and a lot of the ancient civilizations. And I mean, I always wonder if I never played God of War, would I have gotten neck deep into a lot of the stuff I know now? If I would have never,
Mm.
if I would have never played Fallout New Vegas, would I have learned to like entertain these different styles of doing things? And now it's allowed me to look at stuff like it's not whether or not I agree with it, it's how good can you tell the story. Like
Right.
even if you're talking about something like it's almost like a good stand-up comedian.
Hmm.
If they can tell a joke that like offends like if someone just said it to me on the street, it would upset me, but they can still make me laugh. Like
Hmm.
that's brilliant. So if you
Mm.
can tell a story that I might not line up with the main character, and
Hmm.
you can make me enjoy it and learn lessons from it. I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. You took something I don't even identify with, and you turned it around and made me totally identify with it. That's great.
Man, you touch on some of the most amazing stuff. Like when
I'm
you
still
mentioned that God of War concept, I completely 100% agree. If I never played that game, I never would have been as interested in Greek mythology and understanding the realities of the world. And that brings me to tying into your core concepts and your secondary career, I would say. But before we get to that, I did want to ask you, what is your favorite gaming conspiracy if you have one?
all right. So like, maybe this like really ties into my channel. Real world. I really want it to be Polybius, but I just don't believe it. That sounds like. Do you know what I'm talking about? The arcade in San Francisco or whatever.
I'm about to pull it up right now.
Oh, Polybius. It's like one of those stories that's so fun. I just don't believe it, but I want to. Supposedly, there was an arcade machine in the
Hmm.
1980s in San Francisco called Polybius,
Hmm.
and it was at this certain arcade center. And guys in suits were watching kids play it and get real hooked on it and taking notes. And it was like, oh, let's see what these video games can do to kids. Da, da, da. But it's like it's one of those big bad guy conspiracies. And I thought, yeah, Polybius, that's right, Flobo right, voice. Uh,
Wow, that's actually interesting.
yeah, and I don't know. I have this thing about conspiracies. Normally, the cooler the story, the more sadly, the more unlikely it is. But I'm wrong on that sometimes. But that's like one of those super cool stories. I'm like, I need a bunch of evidence before I start digging into it. But no, okay. So like getting out of the real world meta, like what's a crazy mystery conspiracy in a video game that I've always wondered about?
Hmm.
Um, oh, okay. It really ties in. You didn't play the Black Ops game, but so if you ever finish the story, which like even
Hmm.
just watch it on YouTube, it's full of twists and turns. There's a guy in your head the whole time,
Yeah.
but named Yuri. But in number two, and I think even in parts of number three, there's a chance that like he's not really in your head the whole time. There's a chance he's real. So there's that one. But always, also, I didn't play a lot of Super Mario games outside of Smash Brothers and N64, but I think it's Mario Galaxy
Hmm.
that. And I just saw this on YouTube one day. I'm like, what a fun little mystery for Mario. There's a spot in Mario. I think it's Mario Galaxy. It's one of the Wii titles where you're jumping through like a river of lava on rocks and you're going a certain way. And if you look up to the left, way off in the mountains, there's these just three random shadows with eyes that are staring at you the whole time. And it's never
Hmm.
explained. It's never brought up in the story. It's never, and there's like a big kind of look up Mario shadow eyes, something like that. And it's it. I love it when video game creators just throw a random monkey wrench in there somewhere and go, all right, figure this out. Let's drive the internet crazy for a little while.
Oh, interesting. I see both of those. The first, the Polybius one, that is a very intriguing conspiracy. This one even more so because Nintendo, now I don't know. Call me ignorant, but I've never really heard too many conspiracies coming on the wayside of Nintendo. But that is interesting. I wonder if that's like one of those little there's little nuggets of are you really paying attention kind of things in the video game.
That is like one of my most that when I figure out those are you paying attention moments, like that is the best fire that fires off the most neurons. Because if there's like something I really like, it's having a certain idea. It's like the prompt for a twist in a movie. You have a certain idea that everything's going this way, and if they do it right, they just twist it 90 degrees, and it makes your brain like almost flex and go, "Oh, what? Everything I just comprehended wasn't right." Uh,
Hmm.
Another good one of that, well, is hell, Super Smash Brothers. I mean, the giant hand and all that. I think I don't even know if it's that much of a conspiracy theory, but it's a kid playing with action figures, and he's got all his Nintendo action figures laying around, and he's got his giant hands, and he's smashing them together. Oh, I'm making you Google again. This makes me feel good.
Heck yeah, I'm like,
I,
what?
I listen to way too much stuff when I'm on a tractor, man. I can't just sit. God bless everybody else in my town that does it. They can just look at grass all day, and I'm like, I gotta entertain my brain with stuff.
Oh my goodness. So you think it's the kid?
I don't know what kid, but like it seemed to line up logically with a lot of stuff. So like you got all these characters from all these different places. There's
Mm-hmm.
not really one solid story that makes them all kind of fit together. And there's these giant hands. That's always the boss of the game, a giant like glove
Yeah,
hand that
yeah,
walks across the screen.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the kid's hands playing with y'all. And eventually the toys get upset and want to fight back against the kid. And he's like, no, shut up.
Wow. All right, I'm flabbergasted.
That's this is a gold day. I get a gold star today. That makes me feel good. Favorite words.
Oh man. Yeah, anything that makes me think outside the box, as well as makes me rethink the reality that I see, is always intriguing. Now, in regards to your channel and the things that you do, just a little pause here. I wanted to give you the opportunity to, link everybody up to where they can follow you, where they can see more of what you actually talk about more so. Giving your few moments of plugging yourself up.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Follow me anywhere you get podcasts at Bandit Radio Hour on Twitter at Bandit Radio Hour on Instagram. God bless my producer. He like set all this up where you can just Google Bandit Radio Hour and we pop up. I have no idea how to do any of that. I just talk into a can. But like that's what I know. My producer carries the rest of the show on his back. But no, so what we do, we're we're two guys that grew up in small town Florida,
Hmm.
and we have a rather us two together have a pretty unique take on how things happen in video games. A lot of current of it. Me and us, we haven't talked about video games a lot. We kind of need to more. I just haven't figured out where to really squeeze it in at. But we talk a lot about current events, stuff going on in the news, history. We love to entertain conspiracy theories.
Hmm.
But the thing I really try to get across, I love talking to different people that think
Hmm.
differently than me that can throw some new information my way I've never heard. There's something I love, it's being proven wrong. So,
Mm.
oh God, if someone corrects my way of thinking, and I've always thought the truth can handle anything you throw at it. If
Right.
something's true, you can question it from every angle, up and down, left and right. It's not going to have a problem because it's true.
Correct.
And that's what we try to do on my show. Like, what is going on? Let me try to entertain the other side and not, left, right, up, down, center. It seems like so many people just go, everybody over here has this bad thought, and I, of course, have this good thought. And I don't like that. I'm
Yeah.
half retarded. Like, don't take anything I say at face value. And that's something we try to do as our listeners pop back something they've learned, and we try to frequently bring that up and say like, hey, here's a course correction from last week on one of my opinions. I didn't know exactly what I was talking about, but
Mm.
yeah, the show it's that perspective from two guys that grew up on a ranch, which is in today's world very unique, seems very different. Uh, and a lot of it is just us shooting the shit and having fun. If we can't do that during all this, then what's the point of doing any of this at all?
Oh, well, you made me think of an amazing question is what is the favorite or your favorite conspiracy that you were either proven wrong or just the evidence was just not in line with what you originally thought of?
Ooh, there was one. Oh, I was just thinking about it just the other day. I think I even brought it up on the show. I said there was a meme I really believed for the longest time, and it was just you get thousand memes we see a day, and if
Mm-hmm.
what is it? Hunter Biden. That was it. Yeah. So there was some stuff like don't get me wrong. I hate all politicians. Like I have no favorites in this game. But I remember there was like some memes going around about Hunter Biden, and I like a fish on a hook. I bet it, and I was like, "Oh, hey, here's more proof of the thing I believe that they all suck." And after doing a little bit of digging, I was like, so, the group I found this in, there might be one nugget of truth, but like much of this is bullcrap. So thus, I cannot even trust that little nugget of truth anymore. I have to throw that out the side. Uh, but that makes me feel good because what is it? What's the saying? Iron sharpens iron. Like I
Yep.
want to. I love eating crow because that means someone gets to prove me wrong, and I
Mm,
get
and
to learn and grow. I can't remember who said it, but like growing up, going to church and stuff, someone once told me, "What if God came down and told you literally everything you believe is wrong?"
mm,
Everything from what's a
mm-hmm,
nice person to what's a mean person to like
mm-hmm,
your limited human brain just can't comprehend what good actually is, what
right.
bad actually is. Where do you start and go from there? And it's like, well, you start questioning everything,
Mm-hmm.
Bill, and find truth in that and go from there. So yeah, that was a long way to say I look like an idiot about some of the Hunter Biden stuff. But
No,
yeah.
no, no. And that when you were mentioning how you found out that the information was not able to be validated, that also made me think of, in regards to gaming conspiracies, loot boxes. I don't know if you've ever heard of like the loot box conspiracies that's been floating around, from like the FIFA loot box conspiracy to like the Counter-Strike loot boxes, or pretty much any video game that you pay a specific amount of money and you're supposed to either get like skins or you're supposed to get something back for the money that you put. And the majority of them are actually almost like gambling, where you're randomizing your chances, and the more money you put in, you're supposed to get a higher percentage. And when in reality, it's almost the same. Like you could put $200 and still get the absolute worst luck of the draw every single time. Whereas somebody else might just put like, one exactly what kind of item you're looking for.
Oh, it was all right. There's a part of me that's like has to have a little bit of respect for like the cleverness of this. Like, oh, y'all some real smart sons of guns.
It's a good business deal. Yeah.
Like, yeah, y'all are good for y'all making money. Not my money. I don't like that part. But it's good for y'all. I don't like it. I'm not that crap. But so no, and that's one of the things that I really think is in that time period, and I think I mostly saw it through Call of Duty because that's what I was playing with my brothers. But I think it was what about the time of Ghost, maybe a little bit after Ghost, is when this loot box thing really started getting legs.
Yeah.
I think it was in Star Wars Battlefront, which I played with my cousin once, and even then it was like, you want a game? Here's our ordinary loot boxes, or you can pay us $5 for a golden loot box that'll have 5 regular things in it. And I'm like, it's all just starting to suck. Like
Hmm.
how are video games so much fun and now they're starting to suck in a different way? And it felt like a lot of the AAA game studios said like, "Hey, fans, we hear you." By the way, I don't think that's much of a conspiracy. I think a lot of it's just I saw YouTubers kind of prove it as fact. Like when they were like, "I'm going to spend $100 on Call of Duty Pass or whatever, and
Hmm.
see what I can get out of it versus another account I have that spends nothing." And I think Exclusive Ace was one of the people I saw do that, and he does great breakdowns on a lot of that stuff.
Hmm.
But it seems like when the customer base kind of got wise to that strategy and like, hey, all right, we know the name of the game. We're not caring as much about aesthetics of our characters.
Right.
The bigwigs were like, "We hear you. We're going to stop doing that. But we're going to find another way to." I wouldn't even say get because a lot of this free to play system
Yeah.
I see nowadays, like it is pretty awesome. You can just play a video game for free.
Hmm.
That's something baseline you couldn't do when we were growing
Yeah.
up. But on the other hand, I'm seeing like the quality of like how many AAA games are released nowadays that are unfinished. That are like there's still bugs in them when they come out. There's still
Hmm.
Siphon filter back in the day. The only bug was you'd catch a guy on fire with the taser if you shocked him long enough, which was like awesome. Uh, Maybe a little mean, but it was cool. But in the beautiful thing is in response to that, in response to like these big companies seemingly like finding ways to kind of cut corners on productivity and get more out of the consumers, you have these little tiny itty bitty independent game studios popping off that like with a little bit of money they make awesome game. My son, I got Cuphead for him,
Hmm.
and I don't know if you've ever played Cuphead. You thought multiplayer Call of Duty in the 2000s was infuriating. Oh, dude, it would light you up. Cuphead makes you lose it. But you're seeing more and more of these little studios pop off with great things that I almost feel
Hmm.
like they're fulfilling this need of making things better in
Hmm.
response to stuff like that loot box.
And now that you mentioned this one, it makes me go back to thinking about the Polybius one because it makes me think also like back to the conspiracy mindset.
Oh, man.
Do you ever think that, certain video games almost just put the truth right in your face? Because I know for me, my favorite conspiracy from video games is uh Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And I don't know if you've ever played that game.
Absolutely.
And so that from the police being always like two-faced and never being on any one side, just always for their self-interest, to the guy who grows his own stuff and he drives around with the tinfoil on the top of his car because he always
Yes,
thinks that the government is listening in on. and
yes,
I
one of my favorite
and
characters.
and I used to always, when I was playing, because I played that game so many times, I played it like 2 or 3 times back to back. And when I would see that, at first I would say like, is this real or is this just a game? Or how much of this is based on reality? Or how much is this just based off of like inspiration? Because then I started looking up and I realized like that cop was based off of like an LAPD policeman that was like a two-faced individual and he
Is it
got locked
Officer
up.
Tenpenny in the game? Is that his name?
I think so. And then
I know who you're talking about. I mean, yeah, yeah. Now I know he's a corrupt cop. Yeah,
yes,
I
yeah,
didn't know
yeah,
he's based on a real guy, but I believe Rockstar would do something wild like that. That's cool.
yeah, yeah. So I would always think like, wow, are these games like just putting the truth right in our face? And then when I played a little bit of Call of Duty, more specifically, I watched my friend play Black Ops, and whenever he would do the zombie game and he would just solo it, and he would just go down into like I forgot where, but he would just go down into this lab, and then it would just say like this lab is for like research purposes or whatever, but like they're studying certain stuff. And then the guy that you mentioned, who is a fake person supposedly, but then like my friend, he gave me a conspiracy which was like, no, he was like incorporated into like this program where they pretty much brainwash him to think that he is thinking of these things, but they pretty much brainwashed him to think this way, to think like this is what you have to do, this is what you
Yes,
need to do, and then at the end that this person doesn't exist, but in reality that was his pretty much like the trainer, the person that was indoctrinating him. And then it's like, what is this, just all a game? Is this just letting us know what's actually happening in the real world? Like, what is your take on that?
you said all of the most wonderful things right there. Like you just made my brain going like I forgot about this chunk. I'm about to kick it into overdrive. All right. So first of all, with like mind control and stuff like that, hang on, let me like say this. I need a lot of evidence before I like start believing something that crazy. But
Hmm.
have you ever heard of MK Ultra?
Slightly, yeah.
So the only reason we know about MK Ultra, I mean, a lot of people have heard the term, The
Mhm.
only reason we know about it is some crazy ass activist broke into a government building, stole some files, went and reported them, and then other like lawyers and stuff were like, "Oh, we're gonna do a freedom of information request on this stuff they found," and then
Mhm.
the government was like, "Well, yeah, I mean, we were using LSD to try to figure out how to make people think certain ways and brainwash them into doing what we want. But all right, we're being honest about everything, and that's all we did." And everyone's like, "That's all you, the only stuff you did is the happens to be the only stuff we found, and not like all the other files that you're not talking about." So that's where that little strain of like the Black Ops brainwashing thing,
Mhm.
kind of loosely based on real stuff. So much to the degree, I can't remember the guy's name, but one of their own CIA agents, they ended up dosing without him knowing, without like just randomly getting LSD in his drink, and he supposedly freaked out and jumped from a 12-story building to his death. It's like
Hmm.
jumped, like willfully. Uh, but all right, so that I will give the skeptic minded this. There could be some stuff that's misconstrued about that. But now the next thing I know for certain, and this was one of the things that really changed how I saw the world. So I
Hmm.
don't know if you remember back in the day with Modern Warfare first coming out, there was a lot of like expos about like, hey, you can come and do the Call of Duty experience where you ride around in a Hummer with actors that look like Marines and do this like battle scenario, like at gaming expos where it was debuting and stuff, like Mountain Dew sponsored events. Well,
Mhm.
a lot of the reason they could do that stuff, and a lot of the reason they have such a big budget, is very similar to Hollywood movies that have a lot of official military stuff in it. They are supplied with money by the Pentagon. So, like
Hmm.
Michael Bay, you want to blow up tanks in your movie, dude? We got tanks you can blow up. So have them right here. Yep, and we'll finance a little bit of
Oh,
it.
damn.
But in return, we're just going to look over your script that you wrote and just make sure you're not painting the U.S. military in a bad fashion. Any, anything that would mislead anybody about what we
Mhm.
did. And I knew that that happened from a young age, and from a young age, I was like, well, that's just the Pentagon making cool stuff for the American people. That's great. Uh, it wasn't until, man, like I said, I play every Call of Duty story trying to find Black Ops again, and I haven't. It doesn't exist anymore. But there was one, I think it was the last Modern Warfare, and what they talk, it's going to get slightly graphic for anybody, but not too much. They talk about how in this fictional Middle Eastern country that you're helping the rebels fight against like a foreign force. They're like, yeah, the Russians came here 20 years ago, and they did something called the Highway of Death, where there was a mile of like civilians and retreating military that they came and like hit with white phosphorus and burn them to death and hit them with missile strikes and all this stuff. It was horrific. It was like
Mhm.
they are telling a true story that happened in real life in Iraq, but it wasn't the Russians. It was the American military in 1990.
Oh,
That
dang.
like if you Google the Highway of Death Iraq,
Mhm.
it's horrific. It's like, hang on now, Mister Call of Duty, what purpose do you have in like telling this mostly true story, and then just doing a 180 on who the people that perpetuated it are?
Mhm.
And that's kind of, I think, why I loved Black Ops so much. So it was one of the first ones I saw where you, as we have this concept of like, all right, this isn't just video games. This is a lot of media. Of there are good guys and there are bad guys, and
Mhm.
that's the good guys would never do the bad guy things like kill good people. The bad guys will always do those bad guy things. So old white hats and westerns, and the guy wearing the black hat, like it goes back that far.
Yeah.
But man, in Black Ops, it really seemed like it showed like a soldier who was dealing with PTSD, is unsure he's doing the right thing in places like Vietnam and
Mhm.
Cuba and stuff like that. And it was one of the things that first broke my mind of like, hang on, maybe everything I'm being told ain't 100% like they're telling me. Maybe there's a little bit of human bias in some of this. So yeah, that's my real like solid conspiracy is something funny is happening with big AAA narratives.
Hmm.
And I don't think it has to be as cartoonish as there's guys in a smoke filled room that go, oh, when they release the Call of Duty, it'll look exactly like this because we want them to all. But like that's too cartoony, and I don't believe
Hmm.
in cartoons. But some dude at the Pentagon just going, "I want us to look better, so tell the story this way." That's more believable. That's they. Everybody wants to look good.
Hmm. Man, you've opened up my mind to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, now I definitely want to, like, I've always had this question and I've always wanted to ask somebody. So, when you have all this information, what exactly are you supposed to do? Other than just go back and forth and relay the information of this is what actually happened or this may have happened. Is there opportunity for change? If so, how? Or is this just information that enables you to see what's the reality? Like what I don't know, like what is the point of having the ability to decipher the truth when you're given a whole bunch of false information? Like, what do you do with that?
What a great question, because I'm still trying to figure out the answer to that. Decide to lose your damn mind on a tractor and talk to yourself all day, or on a horse, or because I mean, I don't think you know, rural people have always kind of had the stereotype of they're a bunch of dumb country bumpkins. But the thing is, there's dumb people everywhere you go. I lived in West
Hmm.
Palm Beach, and like I thought living in this small town, I'd be like, all people want to talk about is like grass and cows and oranges, and like there's oh my god, they're terrible things going on. Then
Hmm.
I went to West Palm Beach. I'm like, oh, all you guys want to talk about is like cars and beaches, and it's just a different kind of
Yeah.
priority set.
Yeah. Yeah.
I started a podcast because I was losing my mind, and I
Hmm.
was ranting to my producer, and he said, "Let me just record you into a can and put it on the internet, please." Uh, but I think the best thing you can do is I see so much discourse today where it's like I'm right, and I'm going to hammer down and beat you over the head with me being right,
Hmm.
and I really think how should I put? No girl has ever made me attracted to her by being a bitch. Like as soon as
Mm.
that comes on, I'm like my receptors are like I shut down. Like I don't
Mhm.
like you're overwhelming me. I don't like this energy. Think the same way with like an art. Like even if you are right,
Mhm.
even if you're 100% right about what you're saying, are you going to be able to convince that person? Not even convince them to think like you. Convince them to open their mind to your point of view and
Mhm.
consider it, wash it through, and spit it out in their own way. And that's what I try to do when I talk to country people. I try to put a country twist on things. When I talk to I try to bring what I see as a truth to them and hope they reply back with their own truth that makes me challenge my own. I think the more people are like that, there might be some birthing pains, but I think we all get through things a lot better.
Ooh.
Growing up as a guy, like I said, I went to church and I still believe in a God. But I've always said, if there isn't a God, hypothetically, I'd rather know that. Like as horrifying as that is to my simple brain, I'd
Mhm.
rather know that and deal with it and then move through it. So I don't know, all these crazy things I know and spit into a podcast. That's just me trying to deal with them.
Oh no, that's well said, well said. In unity there is strength. Now, if you had the opportunity to speak to the 18-year-old version of yourself, you had this, mystery box that enables you to teleport to 18-year-old version of yourself. You have 5 minutes. You're giving yourself either a pep talk, or what exactly are you telling yourself? If you have just 5 minutes to talk to an 18-year-old version of yourself, what would you say?
Had 15 minutes to talk to the 18-year-old version of the bandit. I would say lock yourself in a cage until you're 30 years old. You don't know what you're talking about. You're nothing but a danger to everyone around you. Not like violently, but you don't know near as much as you think you do, you idiot. Uh, I don't know. Invest in Twitter. Trust me, you don't know what it is yet, but eventually, no, actually, I'd be lying. I don't know what the hell to invest in. I suck at that. That's the producer's job to tell me. Uh, probably the big thing, if I'm being serious, because I really think that stage of life is so. It was very crappy for me, from
Hmm.
like kind of end of high school through attempting college into like young adulthood, which seems to keep getting older and older. Man, there was just like times where it really felt like, oh, I suck in a unique way.
Hmm.
Or like either I can't work as hard, I don't have what it takes to get through something. I wish I could go back and tell myself, like, dude, I'm pretty sure that's on everybody's mind. Like, this sucks, but it will get better. And it's so crappy until it gets better,
Hmm.
but eventually it does. And that part held true. And I'm really happy about
Hmm. You think you could fit that in 5 minutes?
that. Oh, just that things will get better. And they constantly have for human beings. I mean, when I look around at agriculture, I mean, I get to ride on a tractor,
Hmm.
something with wheels and an internal combustion engine. My great granddaddy did this crap with a mule. You know how terrible that was? Screw that life. God bless him. Like, and thank him for thank him for going through all the struggle that I don't have to. But all of human existence has just been like, I really think something we take for granted today is how, and I'm not even like getting political at all, but just how like environmentally conscious we are. Like everybody across is like, hey, I want to make my homeland in some way like look nice, like around my house. I want it to be
Hmm.
pleasing. I want nature to be nice. That's a very recent thing. We've always been like, please die, nature, and stop killing me.
Hmm.
Like, there's bears, there's diseases, there's everything. No one lives past like 50.
Hmm.
Just very recently, we've crawled out of that. In this life, I wish at a younger age, I really could have learned to appreciate, like, man, can things get better? Should they get better? Do they need to get better? Absolutely. Man, they're so much better than what
Man, that's a deep and profound. That brings me to another question. If you had the aptitude, the capacity, the patience, the discipline, and motivation to write a book, what would it be about?
the Bandit's memoirs and the lessons he learned. I've gotten into some dumb crap in my day. I mean, growing up, I was just around here. I was the dude that was made of rubber. If something bad was going to happen, somebody was going to walk away. It was going to be me from getting ran over by bulls to getting hit by trucks to fighting my
Oh my
policing.
gosh.
Yeah. And I think one of the episodes talked about cow crap lighting my head on fire. Uh,
Oh my lord.
so I guess it'd just be mostly about life experience and just what I've learned. Uh, which a lot of it is to not take your responsibilities very seriously. Don't take life too seriously. No, not laugh at it. It's absurd and it's fun and enjoy every bit of it while you're here.
Oh, that sounds like a banger of a book already. The last few questions because we are running out of time.
Oh, we
I
are.
did want I did
Wow.
want to I did want to ask you because I saw recently in the news that Alex Jones got countersued by his family and by the family from the Sandy Hook for what he said. I think it was a defamation lawsuit. Do
Mm-hmm.
you ever think that you would ever retract any of your statements regarding anything if you were, got hit with something like that?
If you listen to some of our recent shows, I literally retract what I say 30 seconds after I say it. like we let an idea fly, and I'm like, wait, everybody, no, 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 don't do this. Back up. That was a joke. That was just having fun. That was just me entertaining ideas. Don't listen. Uh, we're all human. We all make mistakes. Now, hang on. Let me sit here and I don't like quite a bit of laws due to like my nature of being, but I really
Mhm,
feel like if you are truly saying something that is having a direct harm on somebody else, direct like, and I really emphasize all that, you should be held accountable.
mm,
However, if you're screwing around, just spitting the breeze, and someone's trying to hold you account when you're not actively telling anybody to do anything bad, not
mhm,
saying he wasn't, but you should hold yourself to some accountability depending on what you're doing. And I think I try to squeeze in every episode. I say, hey, and everybody, don't take what I'm saying isn't scripture. Don't write it in stone. Please, if I'm wrong, inform me, and I'm going to bring you up next episode. And that's so far. I hope I don't get sued for $1 billion because I ain't got 1,000. Like, it's rough down here, man.
Nah, he got sued because he's worth that. He got that money.
True.
Uh, now I did one last question because you do
Absolutely.
have on the at least on the page where I was researching that you do mainly have a lot of information regarding conspiracy. So in case somebody wanted to start that as a career, they wanted to dive deep, they wanted to do that 100% full time. Would you recommend them to do that, or would you recommend them to do it part time and to pick up a trade and do something on the side to make ends meet? Or what would you recommend somebody that was interested in doing conspiracy full time?
Doing conspiracy full time. Let me say, I don't do it full time. I do it as a fun gig with my best friend. However, I think if you're going to get into this, you need to find people that are not like religious about conspiracy theories. People that some of my favorite are people that like try to prove them wrong, or not even prove them wrong. But actually, yeah, that'd be like some of my favorite people to listen to are like skeptics that slap down conspiracies. So it's like,
Hmm.
all right, y'all are both kind of sharpening each other's angle at this.
Right, right.
Just like we talked about earlier with video games, the feedback of learning what the other guy did and adapting to it.
Hmm.
But full time, what you got to do first is pay the bills. That's first and foremost, man. If you're thinking of quitting it all and just going, I'm gonna go on a conspiracy rant, and the internet's gonna give me a bunch of money. That ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. That hardly happens to anybody at all. We're very very lucky the couple that do.
Right,
Uh,
right.
with the exception of Joe Rogan, who's like super lucky. No, super good, like however you want to put it. But I would say make sure your bills are paid. Make
Hmm.
sure you are taking care of your crap first. And I never would have been able to in my 20s. Like, let me make that clear for everybody. And finally, at a point in my life, I know enough about what I don't know that I feel comfortable talking about what I
Mm.
know. Because what is it? The old I think it's a Socrates tale. He's talking about a big debate in Athens, and Socrates comes to the oracle and he goes, "Oh, I'm an idiot. I lost the debate. I'm stupid." And the oracle goes, "Congratulations, you're the smartest man in all of Athens because you know you're stupid, and no one
Mm.
else here knows they're stupid." So start at a place like, and I know it sounds like the opposite of an inspirational talk.
Hmm.
Know you're stupid. Even the smartest of, you know, Elon Musk, whatever it's like managing a business or inventing Tesla or however he did what he did, I can guarantee he's stupid in how to drive a tractor. Like and how to run a 3-point defense, if that's even a thing. Like he's probably dumb in that way.
Right,
But
right.
humble yourself and know that there's a good chance you're not right. So throw at the wall and see what you can get right.
Oh, that was a perfect tale of inspiration for those that did get that inspiration to do conspiracy. You heard it from Bandit first. Make sure your bills are paid. Don't dive 100% deep into it unless your bills are paid, because the internet is ruthless. You might not only not be able to pay bills, but somebody might want you to pay their bills, as you can see in the Alex Jones defamation lawsuit. Other than that, I do want to give you one more shout out. Check out Bandit Radio Hour. As he mentioned, check him out on Twitter at Bandit Radio Hour, or just look him up online anywhere. Him and his producers have plugged him up everywhere. Thank you once again for taking the time out of your day to come give us some of your favorite video games, favorite stories, some of your absolute favorite conspiracies, as well as enlightening me on some stuff that I had absolutely no knowledge of whatsoever that I'm going to be researching. Other than that, do you have one last thing that you want to say before I cut the tail?
One very important thing, Miko, in your like research, you find anything that contradicts me, dude, let's get back together and talk about it. Because that's, like I said, that's my favorite thing. Thank you for having me on. This has been one of my favorite discussions. It's great listening to you, Miko.
All righty. Thank you so much. For all listeners, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you also learned something, let us know. And then that way, when we connect again, we'll have some more to talk about. Other than that, take care and have a great rest of your night then.